Ahsoka's just finished, so let's have a look at what new is coming out. Ooh, what's this?
Pull up in this mess that we be robbing, we be robbing, we be robbing. You think it's a game, but really it's not. Show with the force, we coming in hot.
Robyn Hood with a Y. Well, Robyn Hood is a famous story from my part of the world. Should I watch that?
Do it.
Do it. And I'm writing this intro before I've watched any of the show. In contrast, in this series I understand Robyn with a Y is now a lady rapper in the city of New Nottingham. This series is currently sitting on a 1 out of 10 on IMDb. That's as low as it can go. For context, Gotham Knights is on a 5.2, Witcher Blood Origins is a 4.9, Velma a 1.6. Can this really be worse than Velma? Even Gotham Knights had fans, and that tried to appropriate Robyn Hood as well. Nobody seems to be standing for this series at all. I may have to look at some reviews of it later to understand why. So let's have a look at it. This show is coming out of Canada, so let's see what Canada has done with one of the most famous stories of my people.
Y'all steady popping bottles, we here to take the sour.
Okay, get it, Max.
We on that grimy shit, pull up if you want to.
I'm sure it will be respectful, and it's fair to say I'm sceptical going in, because Robyn Hood, not with a Y, has in recent years very frequently been misused and misunderstood by people wanting to use the story to justify wanton criminality, looting, attacks on police. Now, from the poster here, in this series it appears that they've both race and gender swapped Robin of Locksley, and she's now black, so they've made her a rapper. And I will be waiting for future episodes where presumably we will learn that she's also a graffiti artist. Would you care to guess who this character is? I'll give you a little time. If you get this right, you will win absolutely nothing. That is what in this series passes for Will Scarlet. Now Jill Scarlet. This is Robyn Hood and his merry men, remember? There is a Little John, but he now appears to be Robin's love interest, and Robin is now bi. There is as yet no sign that Robin is trans. You have to admire their restraint on that. Maybe we could get a Robyn Hood adaptation with this person.
Excuse me, sir. There's a young man in here. And your wife
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
I'm sorry.
It is ma'am.
I can call the police if you'd like me to. You need to settle down.
You need to settle down and mind your business. Please. Ooh.
At least then, we would maybe get a convincing fight scene out of a series. Because none of the fights in this show are good either. There's a cut after every move. Robin would not be matching strength with this guy. He looks like he could push a car with few problems, never mind an average-sized woman. They also appear to have race-swapped Richard the Lionheart, an actual King of England, yet really feeling the respect, Canada, so it would not appear it's a faithful adaptation of the story of Robyn Hood in any way at all. This, however, is Robyn Hood with a Y, because she sure as hell isn't playing Robyn Hood. This is a bronze statue of Robin from outside Nottingham Castle in the UK, to kind of demonstrate how much the character means to locals, and he has to be understood in the context of the time the story is set in. Robyn Hood is set in the late 12th century in England, so you're talking a few hundred years since the brutal Norman invasion of the British Isles. The land of the native Britons has been taken in the foreign invasion of 1066, and that is if what people hadn't already been taken in one of the previous invasions. It was the Vikings a few hundred years before that, and they weren't very friendly either. The new kings took whatever they wanted from whoever they wanted and didn't much care if people starved because of it. They also allegedly took the land that families had been using to hunt for food for generations. So Robyn Hood raises the question of, is it ever legitimate to break the law? But whose law? And the original story kind of argues yes. It's arguably legitimate to break a law if the law itself is not legitimate. When freedom is outlawed, only outlaws will be free. It's like if the German Nazi Party had passed a law in 1938 saying it was illegal for Jewish people to leave. Should the Jewish people in Germany have just thrown their hands up and said, well, okay, well we can't leave then I guess. As for the cosplay, I had a brief look to steel myself for this review and found this from a page selling fancy dress costumes. And yeah, if they'd have done this, maybe the series would have gotten better reviews, but they didn't. Instead, we open up on a rap track.
Y'all steady popping bottles, we here to take the sour.
Okay, get him, Lux.
We on that grimy shit. Pull up if you want to.
I will generously call it. The music they play during this first episode, I will say is not to my taste. Neither the lyrics or the beats appear to be strong. It's not exactly classic Dr. Dre. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. I found this series to be really quite racist. Because once again, if you can tell if someone is a good guy or a bad guy in a series based just on their skin colour or ethnicity, that's not a good sign. And in this you absolutely can. With the caveat that who the series seems to think are the good guys actually act quite a lot like villains. The good guys here, unlike Robin Hood, are not living in an absolute monarchy. They live in a democracy, it would appear, and break the law pretty relentlessly and with little justification. In the opening scene, they're committing criminal trespass and assaulted police officers because they wanted to film a rap video, and boy is this not looking good. On the strength of this first episode, I can't recommend this show at all, and I'm not sure it's quite 1 out of 10 bad. I'd probably rate it more in a similar ballpark to Gotham Knights. The plot and writing on the whole are quite simple, and the writing in places actually could have been worse than it is. For example, Robyn picks up a bow later in the episode when her and her gang, the Hoods, are robbing someone's house, and they did write in a line that Robyn learned how to use a bow at summer camp. It's something. The show would have been worse without that line, but we'll get to that part. Also, they're going to post the video of their committing criminal trespass for a rap video on social media, and they do include a line that they're going to get a hacker to make sure it can't be tracked back to them. It still doesn't make sense because I can't see how they're going to profit from said video. They can hardly go on stage singing that song or wearing those outfits, can they? Also, the music is atrocious. But the police pursue the young people back to their tower block where they hide, and as the police roll up, they're attacked by the residents of the tower who pelt the police with objects.
Want to talk?
And this is kind of a problem, because without the surrounding context, this is just criminality. In the time of the Robin Hood stories, people had to resort to what they did because the king and the nobles gave them no other redress. But if the choice was between poaching from woods that the king says were his, and if you disagree he'll put a sword in you, if it's that or starving, it's arguably justifiable. That poaching is the lesser of two evils, and the king's demands are unreasonable and do not have the backing of the people. Do I have to stress the difference between this and criminal trespass and assaulting the police in order to make a rap video? You could have done the video legally in a park. The police deploy a drone that Robyn and her gang of hoods shoot down with a catapult, and then the police run away. They should have had the drone footage to show them what flat had people in it that fired at the drone and the people who just assaulted police officers, but apparently not. The police should have footage of the residents throwing things at the police. You recorded them doing it from their own flats. It's not like any of them are anonymous. Their names are freely available. They rent these flats from the city in this housing block that's called Sherwood. And that isn't where the references end. Someone is trying to buy their housing block from the city, a local businessman by the name of John Prince. And that's a reference to Prince John from the original stories, only he now has a son called Chet. Maybe that's why the show's getting bad reviews. Is it the racism and the blatant appropriation of someone else's history and culture, or is it the constant insertion of current year politics into a story from the 12th century? So Robyn doesn't care about the sale of her building, but her mum, and what I think is her sister, go to illegally protest in John Prince's building. So he presses charges, the police go to arrest Robyn's mum, the crowd gets threatening, and this happens. Now John Prince is not a nice guy. He tries to bribe a local politician to let him buy the building. He gets bad press after what happens to Robyn's mum, so he wants to send someone to have her euthanised. She was hit in the spine, by the way, so she'll never walk again. And she also has a $30,000 bail put on her because apparently this woman, who will never walk again, has been judged to be a flight risk. The levels of victimhood complex here are frankly cartoonish, and the problem is that Robyn did not know any of this when she decided to rob John Prince's house. Robyn steals a keycard from John's son Chet, and then gathers the rest of her hood gang. And all in all, it's not so much that Robyn and affiliates are persecuted by the police in this series, it's more that the good guys can't stop committing crimes. So they reprogram the drone, rob Prince's house, he collects antique weapons by the way, and that's where Robyn gets a bow from. And her and the Hoods pick the most laughably unstealthy outfits short of cosplaying as a character from Tron. Stealthy costumes, by the way, don't tend to use a lot of neon lighting. There's a lame fight sequence against the now ginger lady sheriff of New Nottingham, and they steal and sell John King's Rolls Royce to pay for Robyn's mum's bail money. So Robyn and her gang are all very celebratory and happy, apart from they seem to have forgotten Robyn's mum, who'll never walk again. So that was in no way good as a show, and very disrespectful and kind of racist in multiple ways. Let's see what the public had to say about it on IMDb. Well, woeful excuse for a remade TV show. The writing is awful, the acting is cringe, the directing is amateurish. A school play about promiscuous criminals who commit crimes and then bemoan the consequences. This is an embarrassment to our country. And I'm not sure if that last person is English or Canadian, but frankly, whatever country they're from in the world, it's still probably true.
Sherwood is home now. You know we running this, but you don't want it cause we
Run this hood, run this hood.
cause we
Run this hood.
Jesus.
I can feel your anger.
What about the other Jedi spread across the galaxy?